Good afternoon, everyone. Today we shall discuss essentials of formation of a contract under the Indian Contract Act of 1872. To begin, let's have a look at the language of Section 2G of the Indian Contract Act. It says that an agreement not enforceable by law is said to be void, and Section 2H says an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. Thus, we see that there are two factors that are required to make a piece of paper, which includes e-contracts in contemporary times, or even a verbal communication or an oral communication, which is also considered as a legal contract under the Indian realm of contract law. There are two conditions that are required: that such particular communication is an agreement within the meaning of this act, and such an agreement is enforceable by law. Moving ahead, what do we mean by agreement? So within the meaning of the Indian Contract Act, every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is an agreement. Section 2. Now, in order to elaborate it, in order to understand it, we have to elaborate it. Essential features of an agreement are as follows: there is a proposal which is made by the promiser, and such proposal is accepted by the promisee, making it a promise. Therefore, a proposal when accepted becomes a promise. However, there is one thing that needs to be understood at this point: the mirror image rule. That means the acceptance must be the mirror image of the proposal. In other words, the proposal must be accepted in the same manner and form in which it was proposed. There should not be any alterations or any conditions added or subtracted from it. That is what the mirror image rule is. Secondly, there should be a presence of consideration. Consideration is something having value in the eyes of law. Now, technically it is defined under Section 2D of the Indian Contract Act, but we will try to understand it in a better way through an example. For instance, Ram proposes to sell his car to Mohan for rupees 10 lakhs. Mohan accepts this proposal. Obviously, this is an agreement. And the consideration for the promise is the amount which is agreed to be paid for the car, and the other part of consideration is the car itself. As we see, the definition says that forming the consideration for each other. That means for Ram, the consideration is 10 lakh rupees because he's getting that money for his car, and for Mohan the consideration is that he's getting the car. So we have got two parts of a three-part equation in this manner. There is a proposal and the acceptance of such proposal, making it a promise, and then there is a promise coupled with a consideration, something with a value in the eyes of law. Promise plus consideration becomes an agreement. It is also to be noted a very remarkable judgment and a very valid judgment came in Balfour versus Balfour, which says that in order for an agreement to exist, parties must have an intention to enter into legal relations rather than any domestic or casual or social relationship. So it must be inferred from the act of the parties entering into an agreement that they are intending to enter into a legal relation rather than a social one. Now, the second element, an agreement enforceable by law. We have understood what an agreement is. Now let's see what makes an agreement legally enforceable. So there are four elements that are provided in the Contract Act which are required to be present in order to make an agreement legally enforceable, that are provided in Section 10, which may be considered as the nucleus because it delineates all the requisites that is required for an agreement to be enforceable by law. Now, according to Section 10, all agreements are contracts if they are made by: first element, free consent of the parties; second element, parties that are competent to contract; third element, the consideration or the object of such agreement should be lawful; and fourth is, such agreements are not expressly declared to be void. If these elements are present, the agreement becomes enforceable by law, and we get the third part of that equation, which means agreement plus enforceability equals to contract. Now, digging deep into these four elements is a discussion of some later date, but I will try to brief it up for a better understanding. Free consent means a consent by a party with free will. Any consent that is obtained by exercising or by doing any misrepresentation, or by exercising fraud, or by coercion, that consent is not free. And any such consent or any such agreement entered into by a forced consent is voidable at the option of the party whose consent was so caused. So these all factors, coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, mistake of fact, are all provided under various sections of the Indian Contract Act. Second, competent to contract. A party is competent to contract if he is major, that is age of 18 years under the Indian Majority Act of 1875. Second, he is of sound mind, he is capable of making good judgment, rational judgment regarding the consequences of the agreement, and he is not expressly debarred from entering into a contract under the law to which he is subject. That means, if he is a bankrupt, then under insolvency laws of the country, he shall not be allowed to enter into a contract. Third is, the consideration should be lawful, or the objective should be lawful. Any contract to kidnap a person, to make him to marry that person to a person he loves or she loves, it may be for good reasons, but the objective is against public policy. So there are many examples of such agreements where the object or the consideration might be unlawful. For example, if I promise to you that I will pay you 5,000 rupees and you give me 50 grams of cocaine, here the consideration itself is unlawful. So the agreement will be illegal and void. And fourth is, agreements that are not expressly declared to be void. There are certain agreements that are expressly declared to be void under the Indian Contract Act. For example, agreement in restraint of marriage of a person is void, agreement in restraint of trade of a person is void, agreement in restraint of legal proceedings is void, agreements to do impossible acts is void, and so on. So this was our discussion for today. We will have to dig deep into these four elements to understand better what actually makes an agreement enforceable. Thank you.